what has happened to the New York Giants is really one and only one person that runs this organization, and that's Joe Schoen. Joe Schoen, who decided to part ways with their star running back before the season started. And by the way, what he's doing with the Eagles, and we will get into that in just a few moments, is just absolutely unbelievable. And it just shows you the incompetence of Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll. But nevertheless, Malik Neighbors stands out as the lonesome dove, the fan favorite, the superstar offensive player, and he came out and stuck up for Daniel Jones, saying that it wasn't the quarterback issue. It was an offensive issue as a whole. Now, I don't know what anybody believes the Giants are or what they should have been this year, but the truth is they had one weapon and only one weapon going into the season. That was Saquon Barkley. Malik Neighbors was not a sure thing when they went into the draft. They were unsure if they were going to land Malik Neighbors. But nevertheless, they got a young superstar. And when a young superstar comes out and says that it's not the quarterback's fault, it has something to do with Brian Daboll, it has something to do with the offensive woes of this team, that the offense is not getting him the ball where he wants it and getting them the ball practically at the end of the game, there's a problem there. And understand where the Giants are as a team right now. When you decide to go after Drew Lock in the offseason, bring him in as your number one option, as your second-tier quarterback, your secondary quarterback after Daniel Jones was going to get hurt, or if he didn't produce throughout the season, you were going to bring in Drew Lock. And then all of a sudden, on Friday, after you let go of Daniel Jones, coming out, Brian Daboll coming out to the press and saying, guess what? Tommy DeVito is the starter for the rest of the season. What does that show the team? What does that show the organization as a whole? How about this? That your GM knows nothing. He has absolutely no idea what he is doing as a GM. Why would you go after Drew Lock? Why would you do that in the offseason if automatically, if you were going to get rid of Daniel Jones or part ways with Daniel Jones the way you did, you were going to Tommy DeVito? And I don't want to hear about what Tommy DeVito did last year for the few games that he showed up to. The most yards he had in a game, I think, was close to 200. This game, he was 21 for 31. He was throwing short passes. He stinks, okay? That's the fact. Tommy DeVito is not a professional quarterback. He shouldn't be a professional quarterback in the NFL. And the fact that the Giants believe he was better than Drew Lock going into the season is ridiculous. And it was horrible. It was terrible to watch. This team has absolutely no game plan when they step on that football field. And everybody says, who's worse, the Jets or the Giants? Well, going into the season, we thought that the Jets, with the talent that they had, they were going to go and make a run for the playoffs and maybe make a run for the Super Bowl. The Jets look bad, but this team, they look putrid.
One for the Super Bowl. Come on, Errol.
No, but that's what Jet fans thought. Jet fans thought that the Jets had a chance to make a run for the Super Bowl. Aaron Rodgers healthy, Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, this offense, adding the offensive line help that they gave to Aaron Rodgers in the offseason. Oh, this team is Super Bowl worthy. They're not. And we all know we're not getting into the Jets. This isn't about the Jets. This has everything to do about the New York football, blue men, blue school. I have no idea what you want to call them. But I'm going to tell you this right now. This team is absolutely done. They need to revamp in the offseason. Brian Daboll, out. Joe Schoen, out. John Mara needs to open up his eyes and realize what he did and how they built this season to completely collapse was absolutely ridiculous. And by the way, for anybody that wanted to take shots at Daniel Jones, let's go back when the Giants drafted him. I know everybody was taking shots at Gettleman. Why would you draft him as early as you did? And that's fine. But guess what? What did Gettleman do to help Daniel Jones all those years? Nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And then you bring in Joe Schoen. What did Joe Schoen do in the last 3 years to help Daniel Jones actually become a competent quarterback in the NFL? Jabba?
Nothing. And
absolutely zero.
There was nothing that, like, in that aspect where you would actually put him in the right position And I don't even think they had anybody in that position to put him in the right position. And we've seen what happened. But also, too, you can't put all the blame on him. You can't. And it comes down to what we've talked about before, where it starts from the top. Put us in the best position and give us the best product that we can give you. I don't feel like they've done that. I really don't feel like they've done that. You can agree or disagree. I don't know.
The Giants' savior was Tommy DeVito. Could you imagine? Your savior is a nickname, Tommy Cutlets. Just think about that. Who gives a quarterback a name of Cutlet? Okay? It only tells me one thing about this team, and that's this team is absolutely lost. They're lost. And when you think about Tommy DeVito, last year, his mother was standing at the side of the MetLife, actually giving away Tommy Cutlet shirts, trying to make money for the family. And then his father going out there and holding weird signs up during the Giants games, making himself look like he's a second-tier father. Usually your father just comes. Look at Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy's father comes. He hides himself over there in the crowd. He doesn't want to be seen. Even though the cameras find him, Brock Purdy's family does not want to be seen up there. He doesn't even hang out in the press box with the ownership. He sits with the fans. He doesn't want to be known as the guy, okay? But guess what? Tommy Cutlets, and we all know what his agent does. His agent's a complete moron. And I hope he's listening to the show. He is a complete moron. We reached out to him a couple of months ago. We wanted to get him on the show, and he says, well, how much are you paying me? I wouldn't pay you diddly squat. You're not worth anything, and your player or whatever, your client stinks. He stinks. He's horrible. By the way, he was hanging out in the Hamptons in the summertime. My friend says he's an absolute fool, okay? He thinks that he's Drake comes into the club, and he walks in like he's Drake. Drake comes in, he's got all these big bouncers around, and this guy, Tommy Cutlets, walks through, and he says, could you get this guy in? I'm Tommy DeVito. I'm Tommy Cutlets. Nobody gives a crap who you are. Tommy,
what have you done, though? You haven't done anything.
His career. That's what Tommy Cutlets has. 1,290 yards. As everybody says, he's been unbelievable since he's walked on an NFL football field. This guy was what? He wasn't even a drafted player.
No, he was only a running quarterback at Illinois.
Nobody wanted him. Yeah. Nobody wanted. The only reason why the Giants brought him here was because he's from Jersey. He grew up a Giant fan. That's the only reason why. The guy stinks. He's horrible. I think he would perfectly fit over there in Minnesota. He's a running quarterback. You can use him in the scheme. You know, O'Connell loves to use guys that, in the backfield, running backs, wide receivers. He can use them as a running back. There's many different ways you can use Daniel Jones, but that's the problem with the Giants. Devin Singletary. That was the move the Giants made. Tank, whatever they call him.
Motor,
whatever the hell they call him over there. This is a guy that career-wise, you can't even compare him to Saquon Barkley. To bring him in and say, oh, he's a great fit, he's a great addition to the New York Giants. This guy can't stay healthy. And I'm not taking shots at Tyron Tracy. He's a good running back. But he's not Saquon Barkley. And for any Giant fan sitting there all over social media saying, we don't need Saquon, boy, oh boy, if you had Saquon Barkley right now, I think you'd be looking pretty right now. I think the Giants are a playoff team. It's not crazy to think that. Look at the Philadelphia Eagles right now. Look at them. This is a team that had problems offensively last year. All back. I mean, A.J. Brown was sensational. So was Smith. They couldn't run the ball. They brought Swift in. He couldn't run the ball. Now you bring in Saquon Barkley. He's running all over the place. This guy is the best offensive weapon all season. Screw Derrick Henry. I'm not taking shots at Derrick Henry, but honestly, screw him. I mean, look what Saquon Barkley did. Has Derrick Henry had over 300 yards in a game this year? No. Has he had 300 all-purpose yards yet this year?
He barely catches the ball.
Who was the last running back to have 300 all-purpose yard in the last 3 years? Christian McCaffrey is the only running back in the NFL in the last 3 seasons that's done that in a game.
He did 100 on both, receiving and rushing.
Yes, he's the only one.
But Saquon changed that exact dynamic of what their offense is, right?
The guy squats over 1,000 pounds. I mean, over there at Penn State, there's video footage that this guy is built like an ox. He runs over people. This guy's jumping over people. He could do anything, spin, whatever. He can play basketball. This guy is so athletic. It's unbelievable the skill that this guy has. There is nobody like him. I'm telling you right now, everybody keeps talking about who compares to Barry Sanders. This guy, the size and his athletic skills and ability, this guy is probably the most comparable player to Barry Sanders. Yes, and the Giants had him. The Giants, yes, Giant fans, you had Saquon Barkley. You had him. And now the Eagles have him. And they have a chance to drive themselves to a Super Bowl. And I'm going to tell you this right now. If this team goes to the Super Bowl with a healthy Saquon Barkley, book them. They're winning the Super Bowl. That's how good. That's how good this offense is. A.J. Brown is not even 100% right now. And look at what the numbers they're putting up offensive. Look at Hurts kiss his ass at the end of the game. Did you see Saquon Barkley and I forget who the analyst was. She comes out and she says, what do you think about this guy? Oh, this guy's the greatest running back I've ever seen. This guy is the best in the business at what he does. We're just so happy he's there. We love him. And then they hug each other. They give a bro hug. I would have given him a bro hug for what he's doing right now for this team and this organization. Ownership, you should be kissing his ass. And by the way, John Mara, keep shaking your head because Joe Schoen screwed you.